My number 2 game is Bioshock Infinite. Bioshock Infinite is the most cinematic experience I've ever had playing a video game in my life. Period. Second to none. I love the first game, but the first game was very gamey. It felt very early 2000s, and this Infinite was just a totally different animal. It actually had a full movie-like narrative, and it touched up on subjects and themes that I didn't think video games should or could touch up on. That's what made the world so immersing to me. For me, where the game woke me up was the raffle. And that's when I realized, oh no, this isn't just a standard game. This is something totally else. And those of you that know what the raffle was are probably had their eyes shoot open when they unveiled that curtain. That's when the whole narrative and tension and setting for this game really stood out to me. And I knew I was not playing your normal video game. I was playing an experience.
I know that we're trying to avoid most spoilers, but this sounds pretty essential. So why don't you just walk us through what the raffle is? And if you don't want to hear it, I don't know, leave the video.
So Bioshock Infinite touches up on some pretty touchy subjects. It takes place in the 1800s. So we had things going on in the 1800s that a lot of people are not comfortable. What happened? I believe
the setting is 1904. I want to be clear on that.
Is it 1904?
Yeah, it's early 1900s.
I might be thinking about the first game. I'm not
No,
sure
no,
anymore.
it takes place
1904.
Yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So you play as Booker DeWitt. You enter the flying city of Columbia, which is a city that went missing somehow, due to this this new floating technology where we could levitate cities off the ground.
Actually, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I know the lore from this because I was studying it because I think it's so cool. I know why. So what happens is this technology is created and they create this floating city called Columbia, and it's supposed to be this beacon of Americanism after the Civil War, right? But
yep.
During the Boxer Rebellion in China, this floating city essentially goes to the Boxer Rebellion, and this is kind of the diverging point in history, is Colombia essentially kills a bunch of Chinese citizens, just slaughters them. And the US government goes, hey, that wasn't cool, come home. And Colombia is like, no, we're the real America. So they secede and fly off into the clouds. It's actually wild.
Yep. Yeah, it's an insane story. We are the true America. We are the gateway to heaven, which is they have their own religious system with this false prophet. It's almost like a take on, well, I actually won't go there, but it semi-mocks Christianity in a way, which is funny to say because I am Christian, right? So, but I love this game, and because it's it just takes things to an absolute extreme, which is not realistic, but it's funny to entertain the thought. I'm gonna go back to the raffle. So the raffle, you come up to, Booker DeWitt picks the number 77 baseball, and you're wondering why is this a baseball? And you win the raffle, and they unveil the curtain, and it's this mixed race couple. And you choose whether you want to throw the ball at them or the guy hosting the event. And it's what game am I playing right now? You did not just give me this choice. You did not just give me this choice to make. And that's where things woke up. Now, obviously, I decided to throw it at the dude hosting the event because it's this is messed up. Dude. But that's when everything starts to go awry, and Booker DeWitt is wanted from that point onward because they find this mark on his hand that says AD, and they somehow thought he was this false shepherd. That's what the term it was. But anyway, yeah, that's where the game really got me to the point of engagement.
I feel like I would be so tempted to throw the ball at the couple. Forgive me for saying that, but it's because I would be so curious to see how far the game would go, right? What are you really willing to let me do this? I would be so tempted to see how far they're willing to go.
You get the same result if you do either one of them.
I figured.
Now,
I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
I'm like wondering, like, dude, could this game? This game could not be made today. It can't. There's no way people would accept it. I don't think so.
Well, I think they'd have to do it maybe a little more subtly. But the whole theme of American exceptionalism gone awry is, I feel like people are attracted to that. And I feel like that's a lot of what the game tries to get across, is it's like, this is what happens when America goes too far. And they make like a whole religion that is a mixture of Protestant evangelicalism and American exceptionalism, which is my favorite part of the game, because I think religions are just generally pretty fascinating. With
this Mormon type prophet.
Yep.
It like to me, like the Zachary Comstock, like the way that they present, like it was taking a jab at Mormonism. I was like, this is insane. This is because it almost covers the same themes, but not really. For me, what really soaked me into the Bioshock experience was its art. It's the only game where the art truly sucks me in. So for those of you that don't know, the building architecture is based off 20th century neoclassical architecture, which you can explore that through and through with like different types of fabrics, woods, color usage, and the game takes advantage of all of that. It is a cotton candy wonderland looking world. Which like goes to like, which tries to go to show that like this is American exceptionalism. We're the best. This is the new gateway to heaven-esque environment. The game also explores, actually promotes exploring its level design. Now it's not a completely open world game, but Infinite is not the kind of game where you need it to be. They have these sky rail systems that you can use to go between the different floating buildings all throughout the map, which is fascinating to me because you can explore different like industrial complexes and duplexes that each tell their own story in a way through the art form. Now, like sometimes they'll have a little bit of a narrative as to what goes on inside these buildings. Sometimes they don't. Like you go to a shoe store, you already know what this does. You go to, oh gosh, they have this like, I forgot what the name of this club was, but it's basically like Ku Klux Klan in blue building that you go in to explore, and it has some like demented features like crows landing everywhere, disgusting dining room tables that are just filled with this rotting food, and you're just wondering to yourself like, what role do these guys play in Colombia? Like, how is this even a thing? Sadly, for Colombia, the whole city falls apart within the inside later on in the campaign, that it turns into like another form of rebellion of Irishmen and African Americans. I forgot what their group was called. They teamed together to take down the system that Colombia is.
What a wild pairing. What an absolutely wild pairing.
Yeah, like it's still going on the fact that Irishmen are not human beings.
Does it explain why? Like, do you know why they think that about Irishmen?
I don't quite remember. I don't. So, I'm really trying to remember like what their rebel group was called.
Does it have to do with? I know that Irish, whenever they started coming to America, many of them were Catholic. And so, like, anti-Catholicism in America was a big deal. Now, the African-American thing makes sense. This is post-Civil War, and I know that in their American religion, they worship John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Abraham Lincoln, which is wild.
Yep.
That is so wild. And they, so it makes sense. This is kind of the remnants of the Confederacy ideologically, that they're like, okay, subjugate African-Americans. But it's fascinating to me that Bioshock Infinite they've thrown Irishmen in there, and I would have to do more research, but if I had to guess off the top of my head, it would have to do with the Catholicism of the Irish.
Right. I think Bioshock's strongest point, though, is its character development. Its characters in and of themselves are all of them. Every single one of them to me are interesting. It's the only game that does that for me. There's not a single character in that game that I'm too annoyed with other than Zachary Comstock, because like he did semi feel shallow. I won't lie. But then then you find out that plot twist at the end as to like who Comstock really is, and it was like, this is so different. The character of Booker DeWitt is fascinating to me. His background with the Pinkertons investigation crew, which the Pinkertons are a story in and of themselves, if you know what they're all about. It's their main focus was to kind of like investigate, what was it? If I'm right, their main purpose was to investigate the union workers and make sure that they don't get too out of line or else. And that was Booker DeWitt's background, and he couldn't live with himself, so he had this choice like to be baptized or not. And the baptism was not legitimate because like he wants to forgive himself. He's not seeking righteousness for the sake of seeking righteousness. He's like doing it as a form of self-forgiveness. So for him not to take it was apparently the good choice. To me, the highlight of Bioshock's characters is Elizabeth. So the Elizabeth companion AI is one of the most interesting uses of a companion AI I've ever seen. Elizabeth is not the typical damsel in distress AI that you would think, where you'd have to be protecting her throughout the whole campaign. One, she doesn't die. You can't kill her. Two, she takes cover in combat situations, so she's not combat oriented. Can't use it like Republic Commando uses their companion AI, where you tell her to go left, right, do the sniping position. No, she doesn't do any of that. What she does do is resource gather. So let's say I'm in a combat pinch and I am running out of ammo. She will go out and find ammo throughout the map or in the combat area that you're in, and she'll throw it at you. And she also does the same thing with in-game currency. So if she finds like coins and whatnot, the AI will toss it to you. So here, take this. Okay, thank you. And she also has a more unique combat mechanic that's not run and gun. She opens these things called tears, which are like these interdimensional tears throughout the map that have different assets within the scene that you can open up to help you in a combat scenario or on your venture. So in some cases, like you can open up this tear that has cover that you can take in order to progress forward and take out enemies in certain directions. You have tears that can open up some of these cranes that you can use to magnetize to and get to higher ground. Some of these tears have supplies in it, so if you open up a tear with like barrels full of ammo or food, you can heal yourself, you could restock, and you tell Elizabeth which tears to open. So Elizabeth in and of herself is kind of like a unique companion AI, that the fact that she's not completely useless. No, she actually is being used in the gameplay. And she's the focal point of the story too, with her, because of her abilities. So what's even crazier to me is that Bioshock Infinite never saw its full vision from Ken Levine. It is not a finished product. The game is actually not finished versus the advertisements that they were showing because of budget restraints and time mismanagement.
So what got cut?
A lot.
Do you know any specific things?
The game was not as adventurous as it advertised. Like, there wasn't that many buildings that were open to the player. There wasn't that many environments that you could explore. It felt more like a straight-through campaign. And there were mechanics that felt like they were missing. Like, they had fires in front of buildings. It's like, man, I wish I could explore that building. And you could use your water ability on that fire. It wouldn't put it out. So it's like, there was things that were clearly cut throughout the game because of like maybe time mismanagement, budget restraints. I don't know. All I know is that Ken Levine's world is rich enough for me to explore the entirety of the campaign and be my number 2 game.